God, my hair. I'm just gonna wear a cap today, I think. Hey guys, this is Sophia and welcome to a new video. In the last 9 months, I've been able to try quite a lot of restaurants in the Seattle area. And while previously I had some favorite restaurants that I would come back to over and over again, I feel like I didn't really have my core list until these last 9 months. So I figured I would share with you the restaurants in the last 9 months that I've been going back to again and again that I know I'll come back to every time I visit the area. So hopefully if you are visiting Seattle, or if you're planning a trip, or if you're even from Seattle, that these restaurant recommendations will help you. I know I've done a few videos like this in the past, but I'm gonna kind of change it up a little bit. I'm also going to include on the screen some of my personal favorite dishes to order, just so it can help you a little bit, just because I'm kind of going to talk about the restaurants in terms of the general vibes of sitting there and eating, or of the food in general. So I'm not really going to talk about dish by dish, but I figured I'll put some on the screen. So if you are interested in a specific dish, that my recommendation will hopefully help you as well. This video is going to go from breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then dessert. I'll leave the timestamps for everything in the description box. So if you're only interested in like dessert, you can just skip straight to the end. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Okay, so we're gonna start off with my favorite breakfast sandwich slash brunch spot, and that is Layers in Green Lake. They have really delicious and filling breakfast sandwiches. Their pastries are also really, really good, but they are a first come, first serve basis. So if they sell out, they sell out. Even though they're a breakfast sandwich place, their coffee selection is kind of basic. So don't go in thinking it's a cafe. They only have drip coffee. They do offer some milk selection next to the cashier, but you're not gonna get like your fancy latte or anything there. If you go around 12 p.m., please expect a line. Their line can sometimes be out the door depending on the weather, but definitely expect a line if you're going around the brunch time. If you go a little earlier, maybe around 11 a.m., there might not be as much of a line or even any line at all. Seating can be kind of crowded. They do have seats, but they're pretty pressed together. If the weather is nice though, I would recommend just going and taking your food to go and go to Green Lake Park and find a bench and sit there and enjoy the weather.
I am so full right now, and I literally never leave Layers not full.
The next recommendation is Kona Kitchen. Now they technically serve brunch and dinner, but I'm gonna lump it here with brunch just because I have a lot of other dinner recommendations. They have very filling portions for both brunch and dinner. A lot of their dishes are infused with Hawaiian delicacies. Usually there will be a little bit of a wait for brunch just because it's very popular, but it does go by pretty quickly, so I wouldn't worry too much about the wait time. One of my favorite parts about Kona Kitchen is that they have takeout parking for any of your takeout orders. So it's actually super convenient if you're trying to get your food to go. Speaking of parking, they do have parking, but because they are in a residential neighborhood, you can just park on the neighborhood too. So don't worry about parking for Kona Kitchen. One of my favorite things about Kona Kitchen is their cake menu. I believe, based on what my friend said, it is imported weekly from Hawaii, but it is a first come, first serve basis. So if they sell out of a particular flavor, they're sold out until they get a new shipment in. Their slices are actually pretty decent. It is definitely a little bit more than what you'd get at a cake shop. None of their cakes are actually super sweet, except I will say the guava is a little sweet just because the guava flavor itself is very tart. So I feel like it amps up the sweetness. And as someone who actually does not like chocolate cake, their chocolate cake is the only one I can stand because, like I said, it's not super sweet, but it's chocolatey enough where it definitely satisfies that craving. Let's move on to lunch. Beecher's is hands down one of my favorite places to get lunch at Pike Place. They have some of my favorite grilled cheeses. However, I will say, I feel like their portions are getting smaller every year I go. Their mac and cheese has quickly become a favorite, but I will say they also sell it frozen in grocery stores in Seattle, so there's also that option. I really recommend Beecher's if you're looking for something filling and something that's good to take to go. The Pike Place location, I will say, is always busy because that's where they display the cheese being made. And there tends to be a line, but when the weather is nice, I still recommend standing in line and then taking that to go and sit in front of the waterfront. The next place is truly I would call it a hidden gem just because I don't know anyone outside of Seattle who knows about this, and that is Dick's Drive-In. Dick's is essentially the Seattle version of In-N-Out, but tastes better and is better quality and is also slightly cheaper in my opinion. They're very filling and their prices, like I said, are very comparable to other burger joints. Overall, it is definitely still cheaper. I'm not gonna lie, it is always our first stop for a meal when my fiance and I come back to visit. Literally, before we came back to Seattle, my fiance and I were talking about how we were going to go to Dick's the moment we landed for lunch because it's just that good.
This is the vanilla shake. I will say, it's not super shaky. They definitely like shake it up for you for 30 seconds before it gets to you, but still really good. Okay, now onto the main event. Their fries are some of my favorites. And for the most part, you really don't need any seasoning. It does kind of suck that they charge you for condiments though. I usually get the deluxe. Sometimes if I'm super hungry, I'll get 2 deluxes because they're not huge, but they are filling. This might be my first time trying the special. I feel like probably I've tried it before, but I really don't remember. It doesn't look that appetizing probably, but it is very good. And it smells amazing. Maybe some people just want less than a deluxe. Still good though. This is the deluxe. Comes in this copper foil packaging. Hopefully I didn't just drop lettuce all over my car. I would say the deluxe is tried and true. Last bite. I'm so full right now.
The last lunch place I'm going to talk about is Piroshki. This is also in Pike Place. It's very close to Beechers. It's actually just down the street, like a few stores down. And you really cannot miss it because the line outside of Piroshki is so obvious, especially when the weather is nice. They offer both savory and sweet pastries. You really can't go wrong with either of them. Their pastry sizes are pretty sizable, so they're very filling. My fiance and I will usually get 2 each. Sometimes we'll just get 3 total because we'll eat one right after we buy it and then save one later for dessert. Let's move on to dinner. So the first one was kind of a recent find, but now I just am obsessed with it, and that is Karaage Setsuna. It is one of the best places to get chicken karaage in Seattle. If you don't know what chicken karaage is, it is essentially Japanese fried chicken. They have a lot of dipping sauce options for you to add to. They even have like different flavor profiles of karaage that they can make for you. It's lemon pepper, some sort of spice, and just original. So you can really mix and match what flavor profile you want. The pieces are actually very decent size, so don't expect like popcorn chicken. When they say 4 pieces, sometimes you might even be getting 5 just because of the way it's cut, but they are very not stingy with the portion of the karaage. Medium, which is about 8 pieces, is usually enough for my fiance and I if we're not feeling too hungry and if the plan is to order other things, because they do have sushi, they have ramen, which you can see in the clips. So usually that's more than enough, but if you are only interested in the karaage and you're really hungry, I actually think the large is probably more than enough. It's kind of a weird jump between medium and large though, because medium is 8 pieces and then large is 20. So sometimes my fiance and I, especially in the clip that you see, we ordered a medium and a small later, which was about 12 to 13 pieces. I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of annoying to get to, but it is within the downtown Seattle area. So if you're headed in that direction, like you're going to Pike Place, it's not a bad walk, especially if the weather's nice. I'm gonna so pronounce this restaurant name wrong, so I apologize in advance, but Noi Thai Cuisine is some of the best Thai food in Seattle. I will say it is kind of pricey, but it is also very filling. The flavor profile as well as the restaurant itself, like when you're sitting down, is honestly immaculate. It's a great place to go for a date. They do happy hour. I forget what time it is, but happy hour for them is actually really worth it because you get a lot of different options from both their appetizers to their entrees. Obviously the portions are smaller, but you can literally just have a whole meal with just their happy hour menu items, and that will be more than sufficient. Most of the times, I will say you can actually just walk in because they're not super busy yet. I imagine as they become more popular, they'll probably get more busy. But if you're going on a weekend, obviously during dinner hours, I would recommend getting a reservation, especially if you're a larger party. If you're a party of 2, there might be a little bit of a wait on a weekend, but for the most part, it's really not that bad. The next place is Onopoke. Something about seafood in Seattle just hits different. And Onopoke is definitely the best example of that. So it is honestly, personally, the best poke in Seattle. And I'm saying that even though I haven't gone to any other poke place in Seattle, because I just keep going back to Onopoke. It is kind of annoying to get to because it's actually quite up north of Seattle. It is kind of pricey, but again, you're paying for the quality, and the quality is definitely there. So in my opinion, it's still worth it. It is a first come, first served restaurant, and there are definitely different sizes that you can purchase. Truly nothing bad to say about it. Some of the best poke that you can get in Seattle. If you're looking for pizza, look no further than Pagliacci's. I know I'm repeating this a lot, but it is some of my favorite pizza in Seattle because the crust is actually thin but still substantial. So sometimes for pizza places, when they have a thin crust, it feels like you're eating paper, and so you don't feel full afterwards. But their crust is both thin enough but still substantial, so you are left feeling more than satisfied after you have a few slices. The quality of toppings is there, and they never skimp on toppings. I've never ordered a pizza and been like, there's not that many toppings on there. They really pack it up. And so because they do that, it is a little pricey. The restaurant also has one of my favorite salads, delicious salad. Something about their dressing just gets me. I'm obsessed with it. If you're looking for pho in Seattle, I really, really do recommend Pho Then Brothers. Again, maybe I'm saying it wrong, so I'm sorry. They're purely a pho restaurant. So they literally only sell pho and drinks. Don't go in there expecting any appetizers, any other Vietnamese dishes. They're purely just a pho restaurant. They have multiple sizings for bowls, so you can really choose based on how hungry you are. They don't skimp on the noodles or the meat. I definitely usually get a medium or large, and I'm always leaving there feeling very full. The soup is pretty light, but very flavorful. Their oyster sauce and sriracha is just there on the table for you to mix and match and add in any extra flavor that you would want. The food does come out quick. However, I will say sometimes the Vietnamese coffee that my fiance will order always seems to take them a while before we get it. It's not that expensive for the size and portions that you get. And there's always plenty of seating. I've never walked in when I'm hungry and had to wait for a seat to open. The next restaurant is one of my favorite Mexican places in Seattle, and that is El Camion. Maybe that's pronounced so wrong. I'm so sorry. But essentially, it is a food truck. All of their seating is on the outside, so it's not really a restaurant. But when the weather is nice, you can definitely sit outside and enjoy the weather a little bit. They have a lot of Mexican food options for you to choose from. Their burritos that I've gotten one time, that my fiance gets every time, are massive. We've literally never been able to finish it. They really fill it to the brim and pack it up. The quesadillas, which I've been getting recently, are also very filling and very easy to heat up. Their guac somehow is one of the best guac I've ever had in my life. They're always fresh, and they're somehow very complex in flavor. I honestly don't know what magic dust they sprinkle in them. And when you pick up the food, they allow you to choose different salsas at no extra cost. They have a whole tray of them for you to choose. It's like 8 options, or maybe it's even more like 10, don't remember. But yeah, you can choose however many you want, whichever ones you want. For the price, you're getting 2 meals in one. So they are kind of pricey, but again, you're really getting bang for your buck here. Every time I've gone, I've been able to squeeze out 2 meals out of the one purchase. Now let's move on to dessert. I only have 2 places just because I'm not a huge dessert person, but when I do want dessert, these are the places that are my go-to. So the first one is Molly Moon's. It is, I've used this word best so many times, maybe I should start a counter. It is the best ice cream in Seattle. They usually have 4 to 5 seasonal flavors. Really recommend the seasonal flavors. I've also tried their regular flavors, and again, still delicious. They also sell them by the pint. Their waffle cones are delicious. They even do waffle cups, which maybe I just haven't been to enough ice cream stores, but I feel like every ice cream stores should sell waffle cups because it's perfect if you are the designated driver but still want a waffle. And for Molly Moon's, usually there's always a line when the weather is nice, but don't let the line fool you. It does move pretty quickly. The last dessert place is Rabbit Rabbit. Their toppings are always freshly made. Their boba is always very chewy, and the amount of bubble tea you actually get for the price is amazing. I think they only have one store in the Seattle area right now. That concludes the end of my favorite places in Seattle that I will come back to over and over again to visit just because they are just that good. And in fact, when I leave Seattle, I know I'll be missing all this food most. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions about any of the restaurants that I mentioned, or if you need any other recommendations, let me know in the comments down below. But otherwise, hopefully I'll see you next time for another video. Bye guys.